congratulate, to acknowledge the corner people on whose land we meet, their elders, past, present, and emergency. We have a list of apologies, there's about 25 of them here, I won't read them out, all the usual suspects on that list. But we value them all, of course. So again, that's just the minutes of the AGM held on the 30th of October of last year have been discussed in the forum. We don't have them on the table today. They have been passed away previously. If anyone needs to see them, we'll make them available. There have been some changes in the management committee as of today, and we've decided as a group to change the nomenclature a little. It was called the management committee, we're now calling it board, with 12 members, no more than 12, including one student rep. And what we'll call the corresponding members, they will be part of what's called a national committee. So the board will have fiduciary responsibilities and so on, but the corresponding members of the national committee will also be participating in the discussions and decisions, but with slightly different responsibilities in the national committee. The board, as it currently stands, then is myself and David Shearman, Martin Yeaman and Eugene Kayak as the executive, Richard Yin from WA, Chris Barton from Tasmania, John Van der Cullen. Unfortunately, John had to go back to New South Wales, unfortunately today, for some family reason. Mo Frigott, Sarah Allen from New South Wales, Mo was from Queensland, Sally Forrest from University from WA, and Graham McClay from South Australia. We came to lead the student work. The corresponding members are Dylan Williams, David King, Helen Redmond, Kristen Pearson, taking the minutes here, John Isa, Liz Bashford, Bernie Carey, Ben Ewald, and Magenta Hunter, and Anna Greta, I pronounce it Anna Greta Hunter. So the board is elected in the AGM, or that's the recommendation to the AGM that these people be elected. I think we have to formally have that accepted, is that correct, in previous times? Unless there's any objection, that is a done deal. The Treasurer's report, Haka, you were there?
Yep.
Could you present that or talk to us?
So yes, first of all, I'd like to thank Cameron Battery from Battery Associates in WA. They've been preparing a report for over 10 years now. It's not pro bono. It's actually only 11 pages of background work, so it's quite a lot. He's a big accountant for next year. The actual revenue this year was about 10% more than last year. That was just so I'm happy to tell you our membership has increased by about 10%, which is fantastic. We've got a deficit of about $76,000 from last year, and that was expected because we had significant fundraising for the previous year, and we expected to spend that money. So everything was no surprises. It's going to be a public document on the SCNC website. It will get uploaded in the next few weeks or so. Just as a by the by, I get asked every year by the Register of Environmental Organisations what proportion of this money that we currently have do we spend on on-ground environmental activities. Which is just really a way of there's an attempt to disempower organisations like ours by making organisations that don't have 50% of their money taken for others, not tax deductible. So really quite an aggressive attempt. It's not gone through. They've started to ask the question. So with your permission, I will say 100%, because that's what we do. We can't dissociate activities that we do from on-ground work, which is much more important. So,
Any questions for Hakama? I lost the quote that I needed to use. I'll have to find that quote from Fiona. It's certainly there. The audit, as you mentioned, the report of the members of the management committee, we've held a meeting all day today, and we've had an annual report just tabled today. Perhaps Eugene Kayak will present some salient points from the report.
Okay, so this annual report covers the last financial year. Hello everyone, I'm Eugene. It's just come off the printing press today, so I won't give you a word by word account of it. But just to say, it's been another amazing, it really has been an amazing year for DEA, the last financial year. I think sometimes we can get a little bit depressed, feel like our fight or our war has never been won. But really, I think we are making big roads. And specifically, I encourage you all to read the annual report. It will be on the website, and there are a few printed copies. It might seem like it's a dense document, and I have to really thank all those who contributed to it, as well as the Joy for helping put it together, and for those and Krista actually for proofreading it. It is important, and I know having seen ministers that they've said, oh, I know about your organisation, but I checked your annual report. They don't go to the annual report. But just briefly, it's been a big year for lots of reasons. We had our rural executive officer employed, which has been pretty much a 3-year project in the making, organising and raising funds. Our first executive officer, Selena Lowe, is no longer with us, but I'm really pleased to announce that we have Kate Ealing, who's up the back. Just put your hand up, Kate. Kate is our acting executive officer, who comes superbly qualified and having a background as a GP and public health hospital management and a Masters of Business Management. And she started working with us 5 weeks ago, 3 days a week, and we're really pleased to have her on board. Our main areas for the last year, of course, climate change is our core business, and we've worked across the nation to continue raising awareness about the health issues on that. Specifically, we've been working with the AMA and had some really pleasing results. The new president, Tony Bartoni, is very receptive on climate change and health issues, and Kingsley and Tricia saw him only a few weeks ago. But also, Tony came to our IEA conference this year, that's before he was elected as president, and there seems to be really communication and sharing of information between the AMA and DEA, which is really vital. I think we want to get our message across because they are, let's face it, DEA is not a critical group in Australia, it is probably the AMA, so that connection and getting them involved is very important.
Can I just come into the moment? There's this computer. Do you understand send a message through to David, and I want to just pick it up again off my computer. I'd just like to read it, because it was to be read at this stage of the year. As the science of climate change becomes more and more compelling, it is increasingly obvious that those politicians who ignore the data are increasingly becoming isolated and their views rejected by the majority. The Australian public are responding with their increasing commitment to installing solar panels, not just because they care about the planet, but because it is cost effective to do so. I am confident that this current government will not leave Australia next year, and that our lobbying of Bill Shorten, Mark Butler and Tanya Plibersek will bear fruit. How any government, particularly in a country like Australia, with so much sun, wind and wave power, with such vulnerable and unique assets like the reefs and wilderness and the evidence. I better get things moving up a bit now. and the evidence now so overwhelming could ignore these issues is extraordinary. Whenever I get depressed about the future of the planet, every second day, she says, I get inspired by the young scholars with whom I work. They are just brilliant and great at advocacy and make me feel very positive about the possibilities of success. Let us continue our good work, if you understand me. Now, as you all know, DEA is not a partisan organisation. We do try to be fair to both sides of politics. But when a government is so extraordinarily blind, as this current government seems to be, then that statement is justifiable. And it's not made lightly. So back to you.
We have subcommittees on energy and health, agriculture and climate change, biodiversity and natural ecosystems, environmentally sustainable healthcare, and we're also working towards the campaign for new generation environmental rules. So there's a lot to keep us busy. I should just mention the conference that was this year in Newcastle, which was a brilliant conference and well attended. So thank you for the two organisers. Unfortunately, John Van Allen has had to leave, but Clancy is here, who was one of the conveners as well, and did a great job. And Bob Brown spoke at Friday night event, which was excellent. We've been busy. We've done approximately 24 submissions this year, which is almost, it's more than one fortnight. And in the mainstream media, our media has been quite exceptional. I think Camilla, our media officer, who's down there, who works far more than part-time, that she gets paid, has been very integral to that. We've had over 70 articles over the 12 months in mainstream media, which if you think about it for this kind of organisation, that's way more than one per week, and it's really quite astounding. Our students have been really great. They always are great, but they've been really great over the last financial year as well. Kaya Ferguson as their leader, and now we have Nancy Reid, who is the National Student Representative. So it's been great that they've been focusing on healthcare and engaging with politicians in particular, and divestment, which are all really important causes. So I think that's enough. Please, I encourage you all to read our annual report.
Thank you, Eugene. Ask a few people who are at the management committee meeting today just to address a couple of the topics of the day. Perhaps Chris Randon is here. Chris is leading the IDA conference in Hobart next year, and well underway, so over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I should say nobody needs an excuse to come to Hobart, but in case you do, IDA 2019 is going to be trying a few different things. We asked for some input on what people wanted from the conference, and out of that, what we're aiming for is a conference that is based around action and participation. So the theme of the conference is keeping the lights on, by which we don't just mean that renewables can actually provide electricity, but and not just keeping the spotlight on the connections between health and the environment, but also the more abstract meanings of light, such as science, art, optimism, got all of those meanings in mind when we talk about keeping the lights on. So there'll be some workshops, permaculture, mentoring, no time for games, and one-on-one campaign skills and strategy. We're asking for contributions for a poster presentation, not just, we don't want just randomised controlled trials, but any sort of activity that you have been involved in with a health and environment event. So if you've been involved in a campaign or a project, please share with us via a poster presentation what results they've been, and also as a parallel poster exhibition, we're asking for artworks from DEA members, because there's a lot out there. There'll be a lot of panels. Speakers so far confirmed include Richard Dennis from the Australian Institute.
Oh, yes.
Communist.
Sorry?
He's a communist.
So is, who's in the group? I thought it was, anyway. Graham. So there you go.
I feel like Adam's called him communist.
We've got Susan Prescott, epidemiologist from Western Australia, who's also involved with No Time for Games. Tessa Khan, international human rights lawyer. Annie Keir from Lock the Gates. Annie Goldsworth from Farmers for Climate Action and Climate Wise Agriculture. Retta Petrel from the Institute for Marine Socio-Ecology at UTAS. James Field from the Change Agency. That's just the beginning. We've got some great local DEA members, Nicole Anderson, who featured in the film Kenya, about the tar pine. Lisa Searle, who divides her time between sitting up trees in the tar pine, establishing women's hospitals in Afghanistan, and freezing off my daughter's warts. Sorry?
What was that last thing?
She freezes off my daughter's warts. And we're also introducing open space sessions, and that means that participants can bring the things that they feel passionate about and get together in groups with people who share that passion and brainstorm ideas and create a plan to continue on after the conference to achieve cycles of action. So it's going to be a little bit different.
Thank you. Ingo, you want to say a few words about No Time for Games?
Okay.
Or you haven't been asked?
I can.
Just very short, brief outline as those that don't know about it. And then we'll ask from Chip to Sajada, and then we'll call it today.
Thanks very much. It's great to be here. I've been putting a lot of blood, sweat and tears into this campaign for the last year, and I made a big effort. I just come back from Europe, so I just made a big effort to come here for this because I'm really passionate about this project. So I just wanted to thank the DEA first of all, again as I mentioned this afternoon, for the trust and the confidence they put into this project. And it's a complicated project. Well, let me start with this. No Time for Games is really who here has heard of the No Time for Games, first of all? So most of you have, you're kind of familiar with it? Okay. I think it's quite an exciting project. It's quite different to what we've ever tried to do before. We're trying to do several things. We're trying to combine the medical community behind us to speak with one voice about the biggest health issue of our times, and also about one of the most relevant areas, which is our children and future generations, because they're the ones who stand most to lose. So that's one part of the campaign. And the other one is to actually get us all to have conversations with each other. Some of you might or might not know, but we are just trying to garner support from all the medical communities around Australia. And that's no easy task to do on any subject matter, and especially on climate change. And just as of today, I've heard the great news, or we have received the great news, that the RACP, including with the Pediatric and Child Health Division, has given us a full endorsement and their full support for the campaign, which is fantastic. So we've got quite a few champions. Thank you. And that, I might say, is thanks to the great work of the Climate Change Committee, who I've been working with on this project, who took it on from the very beginning. And these include the people of John Iser, and particularly, where's John? Who's been helping out a huge amount with that. And Liz Bashford as well, Karen Kieng, and who else is in there that I forgot now? Rosalie and Katrina, exactly. So we've met, we had so many Zoom meetings, they're coming out of our ears. But as a result of it, we've got a great flyer together now as well. Some of you've seen it. I think it looks fantastic. It's got a pledge at the back of it, so anyone can sign it. And that brings me to the point about that we are making conversations with each other. What happened with the RACP, we've got a little bit of inside information, is that they actually refused our request originally. So when we asked them to endorse it, they actually already initially said, no, we don't do this kind of stuff. But there was such an uproar within that committee saying, well, if we don't support that, what do we actually stand for? Because we are really asking for their own guidelines to be endorsed by policy and governments. So in the end, they came around and gave us an endorsement. And to me, this is exactly what the project, this thing is all about. It's about getting conversations started with each other and asking each other what we actually stand for. So the next part is for all of you to go out with a flyer or without and just approach your colleagues and say, hey, would you mind helping me with something? I'm doing this project. It's a children's health awareness campaign about climate change and health impacts. Would you mind signing up for it? I've already tried it. It works. People join up. They want to know about the DEA. Some people asked me about the DEA, and some wanted to maybe join it as well. So it's all about that. So AMA is next, RACGP is next, the Royal Australian College of Surgeons is next. We're trying to get all of these coming together, having conversations, and that's really important to me. Another part is taking it to the politicians. I got to stop? You got to stop. Oh, damn. All right, I'm still getting excited here. Okay, thank you very much, guys. You'll hear more about it. Keep your eyes open.
Ingo's a wonderful enthusiast. Tremendous. Thanks for that. And finally, just a few words from Sujata. Sujata is over here about what you talk about.
Sure. So today at the meeting, Richard Yin and Kate Ealing and myself led a discussion about future planning of DEA, because I think that's pretty important. And we talked about a whole lot of things, including getting an organisational review, which has been provisionally supported. Is that the right wording?
That's right, yes.
Yes, by the committee. So that basically involves a strategic plan, which in simple terms is looking at where we ideally want to be and creating a path in order to get there. So we're sort of not just doing bits and pieces. I mean, we do a lot of good things already without a clear strategy, but I think this would add to what we do and give more direction and more focus. Also look at the organisation and the structure behind it so that we can streamline processes and eventually get larger and more effective so we can do more good things and address climate change in the way that we think that we need to, obviously. And that involves looking at the finances and everything. So it's kind of like this big picture plan in order to get DEA from where it is now, which is doing a really amazing work with a very small number of staff and a lot of amazing passionate volunteers, to a place where we're reaching many more people, we're being even more effective, we're being more focused and winning more things.
Thank you, Susanna. Is there any other business before I call upon our guest speaker? No rotten eggs to be thrown or that sort of thing. All happy in the service, as it were.